This video is sponsored by YouGov. The BMW grills, it's a constant topic of discussion, and I think when I saw the new M4 CSL down here, I think it looks better than the regular M4 competition. However, there are a couple of things. I've been analyzing this design for a while now, the new M4 and M3. And I really haven't put my finger on what's not working with this big grill down here, because honestly, comparing this to other manufacturers, these grills are actually not that big. Look at Lexus, for example. Toyota have a big grills in the front end as well. This actually isn't that big. So I think it has to do with an implementation problem of the graphic features. So what I'm gonna do in this video, I'm gonna make a redesign of the new M4 CSL, which by the way, I think looks a lot better than the M4 competition. I'm gonna let you know why in just a minute, but I'm gonna redesign the M4 CSL and try to implement this grill in a better way. Before we go any further in this video, I'd like to introduce you to today's sponsor, YouGov. YouGov is this online platform that lets you take surveys about current events and subjects that matter to you, and then at the same time earn points. And then you can choose the points to get gift cards or even cash rewards for simply sharing your opinion. You choose the rewards, and new rewards are added all the time based on your feedback. YouGov has a lot of polls and surveys, so you will sure find some subject that matters to you, such as politics, pop culture, products, brands, and a lot more. So here's how it works. You sign up on their website and provide some basic information about yourself, such as where you live, how old you are, and what current topics interest you. Just by doing that, you earn points to start. So here's how I see it. Instead of mindlessly scrolling through your social media feeds, you can take some surveys on YouGov and actually earn money while you're doing that. It's a very simple concept, and I think it's a really cool platform. So go check it out in the description today and start making some extra money. And with that said, thanks again to YouGov for sponsoring this video, and let's get back to the M4 redesign. First of all, let me say that I think BMW is doing some crazy things right now, and I think that's a good thing, honestly. I think they're pushing the boundaries. If we want to see new innovative designs, this is what you kind of need to have to do. There are gonna be some failures and some that looks really cool. As time goes on, you kind of melt them together and find your new identity, and that's how new cool designs come out. So down up here we have the M4 competition, 503 horsepower, something like that, and here we have 543 horsepower in the new CSL. It's the fastest BMW around the Nürburgring ever, production BMW, so it's a quick car. It'll cost you $140,000, and they will only make 1,000. So if you want one, I would suggest you put in your order pretty soon. It's also 0.2 of a second quicker to 60 than the normal M4 competition at 3.6 seconds, 0 to 6. So it is a pretty quick car, but it's also $140,000 for an M4. Feels a little up there maybe. So let's have a look at these two designs, and I may talk quickly about this on my second channel, but I want to mention it here as well, why I think this works better than the M4, even though they are very, very similar. However, there's a lot more going on in the M4 competition. You have these things inside of the grill, some skeleton inside of the grill right here, which looks pretty cool, and I think that this actually adds to the design by stylizing it more. Since the front end is already so complex, we might as well add some complexity into the grill, into the kidneys themselves, like this, like we have on the M4 competition. In addition to that, if we look at this section of the M4 and look at that on the M4 competition, we now have a carbon fiber wing here that kind of breaks up this hole, or that's just a regular mesh on the M4 competition. And in the CSL, they broke that up and made it simpler, but also added another graphic feature, which is this carbon fiber fin right there, which I think suits this front end better. And in addition to that, I feel like the grille just feels smaller on the M4 competition, and the reason for that is that we have a sort of a framing around the grille that reduces the kind of overall black features in the grille, and it makes it look a little lighter, and that is this red bar or framing that we have going around on the inside of the grille here. It kind of shrinks the visual interpretation of the grille when you look at it with this framing here, and I think it looks a lot better than the M4 competition. However, we still have problems here in the design. I made a redesign before on this and I wasn't really happy with it. So in this redesign, what I'm going to do is I'm going to respect BMW's decision to make these big grills in the front end. They kind of clash with these headlights, which are very curvy. They have a curve all over the place, as you can see. There's not a straight line, but here we have this bam, 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 straight lines everywhere. And that's one reason why the front end clashes between these two big graphic features in the front end, the headlights and the grills. But another thing, I think the main problem with this front end is a detail that is right in this area right here. And the detail I'm talking about is how this area, this line, crashes into the grille, and then we have a very thin body colored piece here, and I think this makes it look like it's a prototype or it's not finished design by BMW because of the integration between these two surfaces right here. What I want to do is, you can see that we have a bunch of different angles here as well. We have this angle going this way, we have this angle going this way, and then another angle going in a completely different direction. So there's a lot going on in the front end. What I want to do is, first of all, create a better integration, a better flow between this surface right here and this thin bar, not make it look so industrial like we have right here. It just doesn't suit BMW to have an industrial front end. It needs to be emotional and confident and beautiful at the same time. So what I'm going to do is create a little bit of a dip like this, so we have more of a smooth transition, and then fill in this space with body colored. And then this line right here, what I'm thinking I'm going to do is just stretch it out a little bit to this point maybe, and then this line, angle it up to 90 degrees, and then completely remove this. So instead of having three different angles, we now have a clean transition right here, and we also have a 90-degree angle that replaces this air intake in the side, but we're still gonna have a big intake right here going a little further this way. Looking at the headlights, I think we need to work a little bit on these headlights. They look pretty cool, but I just don't think they fit together with the rest of the front end graphics. We're gonna have a little bit of fun with that. Looking at the side view, we have this, which I've talked about so many times. We have the three shoulder lines right here. So what I want to do here is create one single shoulder line going from the corner of the headlight, stretching all the way back to the corner of the taillight, like we have on the BMW M3, for example, and smooth this line out. Other than that, I think it's a really cool design by BMW. They're really pushing the envelope when it comes to new design, specifically in the graphic department. But as I said, I think we can still improve on the M4. So let's jump in here and continue with the redesign of the BMW M4. This is one of these designs where I think just a couple of small tweaks to the front end is actually going to have a huge impact on how you perceive this design, and those are the small changes that I want to make in the front end. I really want to respect BMW's design, and that the easy way to redesign this would to just take, for example, kidneys from 5 years back, for example the BMW 8 Series or M8, slap them on here and make it into an M8 face with more traditional looking kidneys in the front end. But that wouldn't be much of a challenge now, would it? So what I want to do is try to integrate the kidneys that we have here in the front end into this design in a more harmonious way. And of course, I also want to remove the license plate, because when you have the license plate just covering across the front end, it just completely ruins it even more in my opinion, when you have the license plates just cutting into those two graphics. So I want to separate the two kidneys, have it be more typical BMW with two separate kidneys and no kind of graphic features that cross between those two kidneys, and that's what I want to do with removing the license plate. Talking about the lower part of the front end, as I said, I think the main reason why it looks so weird is because of that thin line that goes from the lower air intake into the grille. It just doesn't feel like those surfaces are supposed to be next to each other, because they feel so harsh. So what I want to do is just smooth that surface out a little bit, and I think that's going to give it a more appealing front end, even with these big kidneys that everybody talks about now with BMW. And on top of that, I also want to redesign the kidneys themselves a little bit, because I feel like they don't have enough definition, they don't have enough movement in either direction, left, right, up or down. So what I want to do is have them be a little wider at the top, and then as we go down, we keep them as they are right now, so they become a little slimmer the lower the graphic goes on the front end. And that way we create a little bit of a movement, some dynamic into these big key features in the front end by having them different width at the top from the bottom, for example. Last but not least, we're also going to work on the shoulder line, of course, but in the front end is the headlights. I think the headlights, they can still have this angle to them, because that's what BMW are doing these days. They have a bit of a aggressive leaning forward angle to the headlights. We can still have that here, but I still want to reduce the amount of curvature. I want to have one direction, one end of the headlights be straight. And in this redesign, I'm going to have that line be the top part of the headlight. So the top part is now completely straight, maybe a little bit of curvature to it, but not too organic. I think organic was the problem that I had with the headlights, and I was working a lot on the headlights in this redesign to try to figure out what I can do to make them suit the front overall graphics in the front end a little better. And I think the end result with these yellow headlights, they would also set the CSL apart. If you have the daytime running lights being amber or yellow, I think it would suit a CSL to have that type of styling in the headlights. And looking at the front end corner, it looks a lot cleaner this way when I removed the intake that was far out on the side of each side. I think just tilting that angle up 90 degrees instead of having it pointing inwards towards the grill, the end point of the air intake, and also stretching the air intake itself, it simplifies the design, but at the same time it looks like a new design language from BMW, although it looks a little smoother this way in my opinion. And then we have the shoulder line. Last but not least, I wanted to remove the shoulder, the three-part shoulder, to not have it have a a broken collarbone, as I like to say when I see this shoulder line. It's like broken in the middle, but I want to have a strong shoulder, so it really builds up from the lower part of the side view to the upper part, and also include the Hofmeister kink in the C pillar right here. That's one detail that I don't really understand why BMW didn't implement in the M4, because it's such a historical, it's such an important graphic feature of BMW. It's one of the key features that is very simple to implement in whatever design BMW decide to do. So that's one detail I also wanted to add as a final touch. And that's my redesign of the BMW M4 CSL. Let me know what you think of it in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.